Thanks very much, Steph. Appreciate that. Well, hi, everybody. As Steph sort of said, my name is Jason Ferrigan. I'm a senior planner with the City of Greater Sudbury, and I'm really happy to be here today and to be surrounded by just so many smart and creative people. This is, for me, has been a tremendous day, and I hope that it's been a really good day for you too. What I'd like to do in the next 15 minutes, I know I have 18 minutes, but I'd try to do this in 15. I'm going to challenge myself. For those who know me know that I can talk forever, so this is really hard for me to do. But I'm going to talk to you about how we can transform the way that we talk to each other about how we plan and build this city. And I'm going to suggest that there are really three simple yet effective ways that we can do this. Now, I'm a big believer in knowing who I'm talking to. So I'm curious to find out from the group, just by a quick show of hands, who knows what city planning is? Quick show of hands. I'm going to put up my hand because I'm a planner and I have no choice. Okay, so about 20% of the room believes that they know what planning is. Now, I want to start by answering that question. And I'm going to do this in sort of one way, and I'll come back and I'll do it in another way in a few minutes. But let's begin by going all the way back to my university years. It's 1996, and I'm learning planning in school. And in school, they taught us that planning is about the orderly disposition of land, resources, facilities, services, and matters with a view towards securing environmental, economic, and social sustainability both now and in the future. So, by show of hands, how many people understand that they know what planning is now? I actually see fewer hands going up. So that's a big, confusing definition, right? So why don't we sort of bring that down to the level of the earth for a moment. So for me, orderly disposition of land and resources, planning is very much about defining not only where, but how we live, like this new residential neighborhood in the Bethel Lake area. It's not only about defining where we live, it's about defining where and how we work, like these office developments in downtown Sudbury. Not only where we live and where we work, but how we shop, like this big box development on the Kingsway. Not only those three things, but it also defines the space that we learn in, like this new school in the south end of Sudbury. Now, we're not only about creating things, we're also about preserving things. We're also about moving around. So planning is often about, too, defining how we move around the city and how we don't move around the city. Now, this is a great photo of the intersection of the Brady Street extension and Larch Street, and this is what I would define as being a near-complete street. We see transit, we see walking, and we see driving, but what's missing? The cycling, right? So where's the cycling infrastructure in that street? So as I was saying earlier, it's not only about creating things, it's about preserving things, like the Vermilion River, provincially significant wetland. If you haven't been up that way, it's a great natural asset in our community, and not only the natural things in our community, but our built heritage resources as well, like this building, downtown Sudbury, the Northern Ontario building, for those who don't know, which is one of two surviving Art Deco buildings that we have in our downtown core. So that's one way of defining planning, the orderly allocation of resources. And I've been doing this now for about 15 years, and for me, planning is very much about creating and managing positive change for the common good, which is definitely a theme that we've heard throughout this conference today. And so when you think about planning through that lens, about creating and managing positive change, and it could be small-scale change, medium-scale change, or big-scale change, it's very much about things like this. It's about improving the quality of our public realm like we're doing through the Downtown Streetscape Study. It's about stimulating change in the private realm, in the private buildings in the downtown, like this example of the Preet Block. Everybody knows the Townhouse Tavern. This is known as the Preet Block for those who know history and love the history of Sudbury, like we did through the Financial Incentives for Downtown Renewal program, where we took that building and brought it from that condition to this condition, which was a complete transformation of how that building looked and felt for the community. It's also about reclaiming those places that in the past served a function in the city, either industrial or commercial uses, and bringing them back into a new productive use, like we're doing through our Reclaiming Urban Places brownfield strategy. And not only is it about that, but it's also about coming together to create new visions, to create new plans, and to create new priorities, and to demonstrate the great potential that we have in this community, like we did through the Downtown Sudbury Master Plan. Now, as I've mentioned, I've been doing this for about 15 years, and what strikes me is that how you bring people into the conversation and how you treat them while they're part of that city planning, city building conversation is absolutely fundamental to the success of city planning. Not only in terms of the content of the work that you're creating, but ultimately its success and its longevity. So fundamentally important. And in Sudbury, I've been here now for about 7 years and actively on the ground planning for 5. We have a great track record of talking to each other about how we plan the community. And we do this an awful lot in face-to-face interactions. Now, that wasn't always the case in planning. If you go back 50 years in time, planning was very much of a top-down profession. Planners would get together in a room, often with engineers. We'd think about issues. We'd come up with solutions. We'd take them out to the community, and we'd often be met with surprise and resistance. People would say to us, "What were you thinking?" That's clearly not the answer. That's clearly not the issue. Thankfully, today, planning has evolved, and we do things much differently. So we bring the community into the conversation at the front end. They are part of defining the issues and defining the solution so that at the end of the day, we have a product that we all believe in and that we can all work towards implementation together. Now, as I was saying in Sudbury, we have a great track record of doing this, and we do this face-to-face. So we do this in workshops like this, which is a workshop that we held as part of our downtown master plan process. I see a couple of people in this photo are in the audience today, so my apologies in advance. I didn't warn you that I was going to show your picture to the world. Not only do we do this in workshops, but we do this in open house format. So this is a photo of an open house that we held when we were coming up with the new ATV bylaw for the city. Not only open houses, but we do it in educational forums, like the symposium that we did in 2009 on brownfields. And we also take the conversation to the street, if you will. And this is a great example of a walking tour that we held in 2010 to honor the late Jane Jacobs. So this was Jane's Walk 2010. And what I love about this photo is if you really look hard, and I've looked at this several times, there aren't any planners in this photo. This is the community telling the community what is important about downtown Sudbury. Now, we do a really good job of face-to-face communication, and we're beginning to take the conversation online through project-specific blogs like this one that we created for the Downtown Master Plan. And we'll also take it online both through Facebook and Twitter. And if you were closer to the screen, and I don't know if you can sort of see this, this is an example of a Facebook post that we put online for our official plan review program. And in that Facebook post, we asked, what do you think of the notion of allowing backyard chickens in the city of Greater Sudbury as a way to encourage local food sustainability? And you wouldn't believe the conversation that sparked. And in fact, our department got called 2 days later from the Toronto Star wanting to talk to us about backyard chickens and our plan to allow backyard chickens in the community. So of course, at that point in time, we're saying, wait a minute, we just asked the question. We don't have an official plan to allow backyard chickens yet. So we do a lot of consultation, and usually after these meetings, I'm often left with a really positive feeling in terms of what people are saying to us. But what I've observed in my last 5 years at the city is that there is a core group of 50 to 100 dedicated, civic-minded individuals who consistently come out to our sessions to share their ideas with us, which is great, and we should all be thankful to those people. But usually as I'm driving myself home, I often wonder, where is everyone else? And Don and Mark talked about this. Cynicism and apathy certainly play a role. We see that in the results of our last municipal election, where 49% of all of our eligible voters actually cast a vote. But I think that there's a third equally important reason. It's a really practical one, that there is a fundamental disconnect between the city and the community in terms of when we consult. We're out consulting at a time that isn't necessarily most convenient for people. And I want to use myself as an example for a moment just to highlight what I mean. I'm 40 years old, I'm married, I have 2 daughters, 10 and 8 years old, and I hope that Maeve and Abby, you're watching Daddy over the internet today. I work as a senior planner, and I have 3 different volunteer positions within the community. I like to exercise and I like to bike, okay? My typical day begins at 6. I get my girls to school. I arrive by 9. I work from 9 to 5. If I'm fortunate and if there isn't a meeting, I get to arrive home shortly after 5, dine with my family, have a little bit of fun with my children, exercise, come home by about 8:30. Between 8:30 and 10 p.m., 1.5 hours of time I have to rest. And we all know what rest means, right? Rest really means catching up on all the things that you forgot to do during the day and trying to get ready for the following day. But if I want to consult with the city, I'm available from 8:30 p.m. till 10 p.m. to do that. And here's the problem. We're closed. We close at 4:30, and our community consultation sessions typically end by about 9 o'clock, which isn't conducive to more levels of conversation. So thankfully for planners, though, people are on the internet, right? And if you look at the statistics that's coming out of the World Bank in 2011, 4 out of every 5 Canadians had access to the internet. If you take that metric and you apply it to the city of Greater Sudbury, that means that there are 128,000 people on the internet today. Okay, so 128,000 people out of 160,000. 3 out of every 4 people are mobile subscribers. That's 120,000 people in Sudbury have a mobile phone. And if you believe the latest numbers that are coming out of ComScore, 54,000 of us have a smartphone. Okay, so that's important. And if you look at some of the numbers that are coming out of the IAB Canada, Canadians spend on average 45 hours a month on the internet. That's double the global average. And if you look at some of the more recent data for 2012, that's up to 63 hours, 50 on the internet at home and 13 on your smartphone every month. So surfing the internet has become a part-time job for many of us, right? But that, I believe, is where we need to be meeting people in terms of broadening the conversation. And I think there's 3 key ways, as I've said before, that we need to do this. The very first thing that we need to do as a level of government is to equalize the relationship that we have with the community. We need to take all of the data that we have within the limits of City Hall, and we need to get that out into the hands of the community in its rawest form. Now, I'm not talking about personally sensitive data, the stuff that people would be able to identify who you are, but the hard data about how the city actually works and functions. The data that's important for community groups, for researchers, and for businesses, and super important for people who develop apps for smartphones, okay? I was having a conversation with someone earlier today who told me that he knew an app developer who couldn't stay in the city of Greater Sudbury because there wasn't enough accessible information online that that person could use to create apps. If that's the case, that's definitely a problem. So planning is very much of an evidence-based process. And we work with data all the time, and we're constantly analyzing the data. And that's the problem. We're planners. We're doing just that. We review, we analyze, we condense, we summarize, and then we put that data back out into the hands of the community in a neatly packaged PDF format on websites like this, which in and of themselves are often 10 years old, so they're dated as well. So it's good if you're looking to get some information, but it's not good if you're looking to manipulate information, to come up with solutions on your own. So how do we do that? We need to move to an open data platform like other municipalities are doing across Canada and get that data out there into the hands of the public so that the public can look at the data, manipulate the data, and to come up with solutions. So let's take an example of that. Let's sort of say you work for the health unit and you're interested in understanding the relationship between obesity and food access to healthy food. You have the data on obesity, you want to know where all of the grocery stores are, the corner stores are in Sudbury, you could come to this website, download that shapefile, download that Excel file, and begin to build those correlation analysis to support your argument. The other thing we need to be doing is to take our conversation online. Like I said, we're very good at talking to each other face to face. We need to get better around the conversations that we're having online. So we do a lot of face-to-face work, which is great. But the problem is, if you're like me, and you're only available after 8:30, and if you miss one of these meetings, you miss the conversation. You miss the information. You miss the energy that's in the room during these public consultation sessions. And more importantly, you miss what other people are saying. Your only alternative is to send in an email to the city, which we look at and we think about and we sort of take into full consideration, but you miss that energy. So the solution is really easy. We just need to look at the many available commercial software platforms that exist out there and begin to incorporate those into our community engagement programs. This is a great example that I found of a planning project that's happening right now in Quebec. So this is an example of where the planners have taken the plan, they've posted it online, and they've invited the public to comment on the plan on their own time. So the red stickies are the things that people really don't like. The yellow stickies are things that, okay, I'm kind of there, but if you tweak that a little bit, maybe I'll be a little happier. And the green stickies are things that people really like about the plan. The third thing that we need to do, I believe, as a level of government, is begin to encourage a new brand of civic philanthropy in this community. And I think what we need to be doing on certain projects, and this could be somewhat controversial, those that were involved with the community, is to take elements of those projects and basically help realize them through crowdfunding. So let's take a really good example of that. Right now we're doing a detailed design plan for the Elgin Street Greenway, and the community has said to us that they would like to see a living, legal graffiti wall be developed as part of the Elgin Greenway project. That's great. Let's take the graffiti wall, let's put it on a crowdfunding website, and let's see if we can raise the money to make that element of the project happen. So, if we are able to equalize the playing field by sharing data with each other, enable online collaboration, and to look at new creative ways of funding, I believe that we will truly build a greater city. Thank you.